For centuries, Britain was a bastion of democracy. Today, it's become a bastion of censorship. Police hunt down and charge anyone who expresses what the government says is a wrong idea. Dale Hurd brings us that story from London.
When a British lawyer and free speech advocate wanted to test the United Kingdom's censorship laws, she tweeted that perhaps her cat is a Methodist because it likes Dreamy's cat treats. Then she asked a friend to report her for hate speech against Methodists to see what might happen. And local police issued a case number. Sarah Phillimore then tweeted more nonsensical posts about her pets and says she now has a police record.
And it was recorded under the heading, "A Barrister Posting Hate."
When British police stopped Army veteran Adam Smith Connor as he was praying for a son lost to an abortion while standing in an abortion clinic buffer zone, officers' first question to him was, "What is the nature of your prayer?"
What is the nature of your prayer?
I'm praying for my son.
And for that, Smith Connor was convicted of what many are calling a thought crime. Dr. Kelvin Wright, also a British Army veteran, saw his military career effectively ruined after being put through an Army disciplinary process for sharing a social media post in favor of women's rights that offended a transgender British soldier. Although exonerated, Wright left the Army.
So you ask me what the moral is. Well, the frightening moral is that don't say any opinions.
British police have investigated 250,000 so-called non-crime hate incidents in the last 10 years, an average of 66 every day. And some have gone to prison. When it comes to freedom, Britain is at a tipping point. This is a nation that prides itself as being a champion of liberty. And yet some are warning that Britain is sleepwalking into a totalitarian future. Toby Young, the founder of Britain's Free Speech Union, says a few years ago he thought the censorship in Britain couldn't possibly get worse. Now he says that was naive.
I liken it to falling through a burning building. You know, every time you think things can't get any worse and you've finally reached rock bottom, the floor gives way and you're falling again.
Some, like London Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, have been investigated for social media posts a year or more old, what Toby Young calls offense archaeology. Get charged with a non-crime hate incident and it can become a stain on your career, showing up on background checks.
No reasonable person wants to have on a police record that you are guilty of some form of hate.
After former police officer Harry Miller faced charges of what police labeled transphobic hate speech in 2019, he began the organization Fair Cop to challenge law enforcement interfering with free speech. He was joined by Sarah Phillimore.
The vast majority of police officers in this country are sick and tired of this nonsense. They too have to be careful about the opinions that they express because they too can find themselves at the wrong end of a non-crime hate incident, a disciplinary, and potentially being thrown out of the police force. But I've seen far too many police officers who look like they are enjoying what they're doing.
While Britain does not have a First Amendment like the U.S., British common law is supposed to protect speech. However, news commentator Connor Tomlinson says you can't say Britain has free speech when only speech approved by the government is allowed.
So no, we don't have free speech in this country. Instead, if you're a Christian, if you question the open borders, mass immigration agenda, or if you say some, let's say, febrile and ill-advised things on a social media app, but you are not a member of a state-approved left-wing NGO, then you will be sent to prison.
Adam Smith Connor says his legal ordeal has been personally tough after he fought for freedom in Afghanistan, risked his life, and lost friends there.
I've got a profound sense of sadness that for our nation, that the fact that we have plummeted to such a depth so quickly.
In his book 1984, George Orwell depicted a future totalitarian state modeled after Stalin's Soviet Union. He probably never imagined that Britain one day would be described as Orwellian.
The idea that you can be criminalized for a non-crime, for instance, it's pure Orwell. This is straight out of 1984. As I told the police, 1984 is a dystopian novel. It is not a police how-to manual.
Young believes free speech can be restored in Britain, but citizens must get involved.
If we abandon our belief, our commitment to free speech, it'll be not just catastrophic for us, but catastrophic for the rest of the world.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, London.
Well, we need to get back to the principle of the, quote, free world, close quote, that we don't have this kind of Orwellian culture. In the UK, it's called hate speech, and that's a crime. Here in the United States, it's still called hate speech. It's not a crime yet, but it can lead to cancel culture, where you are going to be publicly shamed, you're going to be deplatformed, your social media posts are going to be deleted. We've all gone through that, and just look at some of the disinformation coming out of the so-called elite, whether that was on COVID and the origins of COVID, whether that was on Hunter Biden's laptop, or you have a whole panel of foreign intelligence experts say this is Russian disinformation and we need to squelch all these reports and you can't put any information up on any news site or any social media site. It's already happened, and where is the outcry and where is the outrage over it? Look at the roots of this, and it all goes back to totalitarian governments founded under a communist utopia, where anything that's against the government or against communism is considered counter-revolutionary and has to be completely wiped out. We're seeing on our college campuses things that are almost identical to the struggle sessions of the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s in China. Do we really want to go down that path? I, for one, no. If people have speech I disagree with, I can disagree with it, but I want to absolutely support their right to say it. Everyone should have freedom of conscience. Everyone should have freedom of speech. Everyone should have freedom of thought. If we don't have that, we're no longer free.